Okay, I'm at Taylor Kearns' house here in Greenwich at number 10. So one of the ideas was trying to get some coverage from the house looking at the electrical pole. So there's a little spot right here that we could put in maybe a small tree. All right, so that was one idea. And that obviously mulch that area. You'd have to probably run irrigation down into this area to make sure that that new tree gets watered. Okay. Um, then you've got a lot of boxwoods on the property. So, like you said, a pretty big investment. Um, these have been cut back with a machine shears rather than with hand shears. It saves about 30% more. It's about 30% more time efficient to use a machine than it is by hand. All right. The problem when you do it with a machine is that you'll get this kind of torn leaf at the top of the boxwood, which leaves this kind of brown appearance. So if you want to, we could shear it with hand shears, like these big long scissors. That's the way you really should professionally do it. But again, it does take more time and it's more cost. So that's something you have to weigh. Okay. When we're quoting it, I guess the other question is, do you also want to shear this side? I'm not sure where the property line is. I'm not sure if the neighbor shears this side or if you only do the top and the right side. Okay. The stone walls, this white streaks in the walls, typically that can be cleaned up with muriatic acid. So you end up doing that very carefully with chemical gloves, and you could typically clean that up. Sometimes it's actually soaked right into the stone and it doesn't clean up, but more often than not, you can remove those white streaks off the wall. So that might be something you might consider doing. Okay. Again, more boxwood through the front of the house. So these have to be treated for leaf miner, and these are in full sun. So you actually see these little speckles in the top. That's a very, very small insect feeding on the plant. So you really got to get, and this is leaf miner. See those little bubbles in the back? That's leaf miner. So a lot of leaf miner in this. Those are feeding on the plants. That you got to get treated systemically in the spring. All right, I'll put that in your quote, but that's very important because that will slowly kill the plants. This year, I think we should even do a fall spray in your boxwoods too, because they are pretty infested, and that is an issue that has to be resolved. Okay. The holes, you see a hole right here. That's from, oh jeez, they got a freaking, they've got an irrigation head right in the middle of this plant. So maybe the first thing we do when we open the system, we have to run through the whole system and see what's going on with the irrigation. But that's obviously in the wrong spot. I'm assuming there might be some irrigation modification and repairs that need to happen. Typically, you don't want to have your lawn sprinklers spraying onto your plants because your plants require less frequent watering than your lawn. And your lawn requires a higher frequency when it's really hot outside. So it's usually you keep the water separate. But anyways, this head's going to have to be moved. And a lot of the holes that you see in the plants, that's from the snow coming down and crushing it during the winter. It's even more noticeable when it falls off the roof and lands on the house. So for example, there's another hole right there. You can tie these with green jute twine before the winter, and that will help a lot so they don't kind of get all distorted from the heavy snows. I would still recommend making sure that whoever's plowing for you, part of their contract is cleaning the snow off of your boxwoods. Okay. And you got some hollies, two different types of hollies, type of euonymus, Norway spruce. So these Norway spruce are gonna grow as big as that and even bigger than that, twice the size of that tree. So, and that tree is already 50 feet. So you really gotta think about transplanting these in the near future, maybe this fall, and putting something else in here that's more appropriately sized because this is just going to be a problem. If you live here for another 5, 6, 10 years, you're going to cut these down and have to replace them. So that doesn't make any sense. You might as well relocate these elsewhere where you get some value out of them. Okay, these are azaleas. Looks like the deer might be eating a little bit of these hollies, just so you know. That's an Andromeda. The Andromeda doesn't look too healthy, so that you might just rip out. Then you've got gravel kind of around the boxwoods. And you got gravel in the front of the house as well in certain spots. So my opinion, to be honest with you, you can see where the edge of the bed is clean out the gravel. I don't know why they put the gravel in here in the first place. Maybe you leave the gravel just along the foundation of the house, like say a foot border along the foundation, but outside of that, clean it out and put in mulch. It'll look much better. And this is probably gonna just be a weed infested area with the gravel how it is. So there is gonna be probably some prep work here in regards to kind of fixing what's been neglected, I guess you could say, in the past. Then over here, same thing, this should all be mulched. And leave the gravel, like I said, like call it 18 inches along the house. They probably did that for drainage. Okay. More holly, a magnolia. So there's a magnolia tree right here. More boxwood. Boxwood, again, all have leaf miner insect. That has to be treated right away. Okay. Tree hydrangea right here. More mophead hydrangeas over here. A lilac. That's a little lilac. Dwarf Korean lilac. These are all Norway spruce. That's a Colorado blue spruce. So those have to be cut back at least every other year because the growth buds are only typically in the end of the branches. You cut them back too severely, then the branch won't regrow. River birch. So next time you trim those, I'd probably clip those back a little bit too, because if on a heavy snow, those will get all messed up and they'll kind of all be all bent. So I would probably clip those back a little bit. Then you got a red maple, Cia rubrum is the Latin name over here, which didn't make sense for them to plant there because it's going to grow 80 feet tall. It's going to grow taller than this tree over here. So I suppose you could leave it for now, but at some point you're going to end up cutting that down. It's going to get too big. Okay. So this area obviously all needs mulch going through here. Then you need mulch underneath these trees in the back over here. So a couple more yards of mulch. The grass is really, it's in rough shape. There's really not much lawn, and there's going to be a lot of weeds. And the first summer, this spring, this summer, the lawn's going to look just marginally better, marginally. Where you're going to make a big improvement is when it's core aerated and seeded. So when the lawn is renovated during September, then you'll see a wow effect, because then we can introduce new seed, and that new seed will fill in all these bare spots, and the lawn will look dramatically better. The problem is we can't really seed it now, because when you try to seed in full sun areas in the spring, the seed doesn't have enough time for the roots to grow deep enough to withstand the heat of the summer. That's why all lawn renovations are done during the fall, because then you have about 6 months before the heat of the following summer, and by that point the roots are deep enough. So again, you're kind of inherit what the issues were last year. We could get it looking better, but then September would be the big leap as far as aesthetics for the lawn. Okay. More Colorado blue spruce back here. Some Norway. So it's Colorado. That's in Norway. You got skip laurel, which is this guy right here. That's called a skip laurel. Sometimes that will turn bright brown during the spring because it gets a lot of bad winter burn. That's usually more of a West Coast plant, and it's hit or miss what that looks like first thing in the spring. Okay. Another maple. This blue spruce is on its way out, so there's no sunlight, right? And that's why it looks that bad. So You might just remove it, to be honest with you. Well, I guess it gives you some coverage. Another maple. You can see how big this gets. That's what I was saying. The one over there, it just was the wrong tree for the location. More skip laurel, and you can see some of these did get damaged in the past. And there's no sunlight on the other side, which is the other reason why the branches are dead on the other side. So that you could just cut out the dead branches makes the most sense. More spruce, which they look like they probably cut back too much on this side. Okay, and this is all spruce. That's a hemlock tree up in the top. Taxus, are also known as yew. The deer love this. I'm not sure if you really have a deer issue in this neighborhood, but something to think about. That's a Fothergilla. You don't see that too often. Spirea, these bloom all summer. These are green velvet boxwoods. There's a different variety of boxwood than what you have in the front. These also have leaf miner insect issues. So this is the lawn. Then to get in here, it looks like there's only one gate, if I'm looking at this right. So you got one gate to get in through here. And oh, there's a gate on the other side too, but they're both 4-foot gates. You have to use a smaller mower to cut the grass in here. Okay. Looks like you got some nimble willow. Basically, again, the whole lawn just has to be renovated during the fall because you probably have about 80% weeds that are going to start growing pretty soon. And the first lawn application should really happen right away, just so you know. So the spring cleanup and the first lawn application are time sensitive. I'll get on top of that. Looks like you also had some insect issues eating the roots of your grass in the front here. It's going to be a rough summer, though, just so you know, for the lawn. We could put down Dilox, which is an insecticide to kill the grubs that were eating your lawn over here. But we really can't introduce seed at this point that's going to be successful. So you can start getting the process going. You have to be patient until September when you actually get a big wow effect of the lawn. Okay. That's about it. So I'll put together a maintenance proposal and we'll take it from there. Thanks for having me over.